manipulation, false contrition. We, as narcissists, have no emotional empathy. That means that if the narcissist happens to say, "I'm sorry," we're not really. It's not genuine. Lesser narcissists don't tend to say sorry a lot. It can happen, but it's infrequent. The greater and ultra don't so much as apologise, but use it more in a polite way. "I'm sorry what I should have said," or "I'm sorry you feel that way," or "I'm sorry to have to tell you." But it is more a figure of speech, and certainly does not generate anything in terms of actual emotional empathy for you. The biggest users of false contrition, however, are the sniveling mid-range narcissists. Lower mid-range, middle mid-range A, middle mid-range B, and upper mid-range, and especially middle mid-range. They love throwing around some false contrition. They genuinely believe that they are sorry. They genuinely believe that they are contrite, that they are being apologetic, but they are not. Why? Quite simply, they are narcissists, and they are incapable of genuine contrition because they have no emotional empathy, no genuine self-reflection, and no empathic traits. The litmus test, of course, as to why it's not genuine, aside from the fact that it can't be because they're narcissists, is that they will repeatedly keep engaging in the behaviour. There will be an apology issued for something that has been done, and then they'll go and do it again, or they will do something similarly unpleasant, inconsiderate, and hurtful. Accordingly, the individual that habitually engages in a pattern of behaviour for which they keep apologising isn't somebody who's behaving in an empathic way. If they were genuine with regard to their contrition, they would stop the behaviour. So take, for example, somebody who is otherwise a pleasant enough human being, but they turn into an arsehole when they've slammed 8 pints down their throat. And it's pointed out to them, look, you're okay for 4 or 5, but after that you become obnoxious, you start fighting with people, and you're not very nice to be around. A mid-range narcissist would go, I'm so terribly sorry that I've hurt people, and I will make amends. You know, I must have a bit of a problem. I'm really sorry that I behave like this way towards you and your friends. It won't happen again. And of course, until the next weekend, when they sink in 8 pints and they behave in the same way. Everything that they've suggested has been false because they've not adjusted their behaviour. But if they were not a narcissist, what would happen is they would recognise, and it might take a couple of occasions before it sinks in, but they would recognise, because of their emotional empathy, that their behaviour is affecting other individuals adversely when they've had too much to drink. The drink is an external stressor which erodes their normally present emotional empathy, so it causes them to behave in an unpleasant manner towards other people. And somebody who, when they're sober and their emotional empathy is there, will realise, hang on, when I drink 8 pints, I turn into an arsehole. The answer is, I won't drink 8 pints. And they'll either not drink at all, or they'll ensure that they stop around 5 or 6 pints and not get into the realms of drinking so much that they become obnoxious, i.e., they correct their behaviour because they have emotional empathy, and therefore their contrition is genuine, because they do something about the behaviour. The narcissist would either say, oh yes, I'll change, I won't do it again, and then we'll do it, or will blame shift. I can't help it. It's the alcohol that makes me turn into an arsehole. That looks like there is some degree of recognition about their behaviour, but it isn't. They are blame shifting, but in a very subtle way. It's not my fault, it's the alcohol. Yes, but who's drinking it? You are, Mr. Mid-Range Narcissist. But you won't stop drinking it because you have no sense of accountability, no emotional empathy, and a sense of entitlement. And therefore, there is the blame shifting that takes place. So, false contrition is something that appears repeatedly with narcissists, but mainly mid-range ones, where they are sorry for certain behaviours. What I'm going to explain to you now are a number of examples of that false contrition, with the phrase that you will hear from the particular mid-range narcissist, and afterwards what's really going on in their unconscious, how they behaved before this false apology was issued, how they acted in a way without emotional empathy, a sense of entitlement, without boundary recognition, without a sense of accountability, with haughtiness, and so forth. So I'm going to provide you with 7 examples of phrases that you will hear commonly issued by mid-range narcissists using the manipulation of false contrition, which is done to bring you under control, to gain fuel from you, to stop you perhaps leaving, to stop you challenging the narcissist's control. Remember, this is an instinctive response because it's a mid-range narcissist. And then, after each phrase, I'll explain to you the prevailing mindset that's actually occurring in the unconscious, which led to the behaviour which precipitated the need for the apology and the false contrition. Number 1, I'm sorry I went away. What's behind that? Well, you probably said something that I didn't like. You may not have said anything at all. But you did something which challenged my sense of control in my unconscious, and therefore it wanted to punish you, causing me to disappear. I'm not going to tell you what I was doing whilst I was gone, but I only ever thought about you when you came back on the radar, when I saw your pleading text and missed calls. The rest of the time was spent with somebody else, indeed, your predecessor, who I decided to hoover back in, and I wanted to be with because, well, she wasn't threatening my control. Of course, she then did threaten my control and spoilt the time with her, which is why I have come back to you now, pretending to be sorry. I need to assert control over you with this false apology, and I need to gain fuel from you. So here I am, rolling up with my false remorse. Number 2, I'm sorry I didn't listen. I didn't listen to you because I'm arrogant, haughty, and have a sense of entitlement and have no accountability towards you in our relationship, because basically my prevailing mindset is that you have nothing of importance to say unless it's about me. However, compared to me, you should listen to me more, because I don't like it when you don't, because when you don't listen to me, you threaten my control. In fact, I absolutely hate it. I rarely hear the words you say, because you're actually wasting your breath. I'm far too focused on the emotion that's spewing from you and whether it's threatening or giving me control. Your hurt, your frustration, your anger, and your hatred, for example. That's what I actually want to listen to, not what you're saying, but whether you're threatening my control or whether you are giving me control and, of course, providing me with fuel. This is all going in my unconscious, but that's what it's all about. I will pretend that I listen to you in the future so that you provide me with some positive fuel for a while and so I can bring you under control, and then I'll become deaf to what you have to say once again. Number 3, I'm sorry that I hit you. Of course, I'm not actually sorry, because if I was, I wouldn't keep doing this, and if I was genuinely sorry, then I would have to give control to you, and that's not allowed. What I'm actually thinking is, you made me hit you, because you wouldn't do what I wanted, and you wouldn't give me what I need, and therefore you threaten my control. I'm torn, you see, between needing you and being disgusted by the fact that I'm bound to someone as pathetic as you, when I regard myself as so brilliant. I am, however, concerned, because this will also threaten my control, that what I did might be detected by others, and consequently would damage my facade, and therefore I need to get you back under control to preserve my facade, to ensure that what everybody thinks about me outside these 4 walls will be maintained. I'm also concerned that you have suggested that you might speak to law enforcement, and that threatens my control, so I now need to apply a bit of charm and contrition towards you to prevent you from committing that most treacherous of acts of reporting me, and you're such a hypocrite for doing so, because after all, you made me hit you. Number 4, I'm sorry I was unfaithful. You see, if you paid me more attention, I wouldn't have to do it. Again, you made me do it, or perhaps I wouldn't have to do it as often. It's your fault, after all, that I went elsewhere. You threatened my control. Therefore, I had to go and seek control over somebody else and gain fuel from them and withdraw from you, which was a method of asserting control over you as well. You don't admire me like you used to. You should do so, Everybody admires me, and you should be no different. I, of course, am irritated by the fact that I got caught, because unconsciously that threatens my control, and also because I thought I'd covered my tracks and been cleverer than you. And therefore, by you finding me out, that also threatens my control, because not only have you suggested that I've done something that I ought not to have done, you've also offended my sense of being too clever. I'm also annoyed because you've scared off the other woman with your histrionics, and now that also threatens my control not only of you, but also of her, and I've got to use my time and energy to find somebody else. So therefore, whilst I do that, I have to say sorry to you for being unfaithful so I can get you under control, so that I have extra energy to go and replace the IPSS that you have frightened off. I had a great little setup there, and you've ruined it with your interference, just as you always spoil everything. 5. I'm sorry I wasn't there for you. I actually don't want to support you because that means I have to be accountable to you, and that means you have control over me. And as I keep explaining, that's not allowed. I also have no emotional empathy, so why should I support you unless it benefits me? I know that you want me to support you when you are unwell, but I find it a waste of my time because everything should be about me, not you. I don't like to be reminded of any weakness because, of course, I'm not actually weak. That would force me to see too much of myself, which isn't allowed. I need my energies and time to carry out my machinations and gather fuel, not to play nursemaid to you. I don't care that you've looked after me. That's your role and obligation, and it's not a quid pro quo. I'm too great after all to tend to you. You're beneath me. I am concerned that my lack of caring and attentiveness, however, has impacted upon you in terms of threatening my control over you, and that it might have proven the last straw. So, my false contrition of saying I'm sorry I wasn't there for you is purely designed as a preventative hoover to stop you leaving me and thus threatening my control. Number 6. I'm sorry I'm not a better person. I'm not, but I have to do this to control you. I think that I'm better than you, way better than you and everybody else. But I know that you're fixated with the idea of making me feel better, changing me, creating me into something better and healing me. So, this is a pity play as well as false contrition, so I say this to make you feel sorry for me and to hint at the fact that I want to change and become someone better. I'm never going to change, but you don't know that, and I do love to keep you hanging on thinking that I will, as this stops you leaving me and deserting me when I need my fuel and to control you. Of course, this is all going on in my unconscious, and I'm not actually aware of all of this. This is my narcissism speaking and explaining all of this for you listeners. I will keep mentioning this so you stick around until such time as I've lined up somebody else and I've drained you. Then you can disappear for all I care. In the meanwhile, I will continue to insinuate that I'm capable of change and improvement so that you don't go anywhere else. I need to control you and receive my fuel. Number 7. I feel sorry for myself. This one's actually true. And this is what behind much of what I say as a mid-range narcissist. I feel very sorry for myself. And with good reason. I'm just trying to get through life and deal with all of the jealous people, the envious people, and the horrible people who are trying to hurt me. I know there are hundreds of them, and I haven't done anything at all to them, yet they insist on trying to hurt me. I don't understand. It's a terrible burden to carry, knowing that there are so many people out there against you, especially when you're as kind and considerate and compassionate and wonderful and as brilliant as I am. I need your pity, your sympathy and your empathy. Give it to me. Let me know that I'm controlling you. Give me your fuel. I don't deserve to be treated like this, do I? I'm human too, you know. And there you have it. The explanations provided as if the narcissism of a mid-range narcissist were speaking to you. The underlying thought process of that unconscious narcissism, explaining what's really going on when false contrition is being exhibited towards you. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.